We're good? Okay. It is now 6:32. Call the meeting to order. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Paul Pauls. I'm the president.
Chris Robertson, Vice President.
Chris Brew. David Durkett. As I mentioned before the camera was turned on, we have established a quorum. We have all 5 board members here. First order of business to approve the previous meeting's minutes. Anyone have any questions, issues, or comments regarding the minutes?
Got a question on the executive minutes.
We'll address those in the executive meeting. We don't discuss executive minutes before the open meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Can I get a clarification on these minutes?
Certainly.
Under event committee update,
Yeah.
there's a comment, and I recall this person saying that it was going to occur. Homeowner Kim Bissell volunteered to go door to door to get email addresses from homeowners to do a community bulletin board. Is that occurring?
I would have to ask Mr. Bissell.
Well, we'll talk about that during the meeting again. There's a website she's talking about. It's in process of being built.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Second? Second. Chris motion, and sorry, who second? Patrick second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, old business. Non-com status update. Well, we have good news. In December, the end of December, we received a check in the amount of $57,372.66, which represented 70% of the remaining balance that was in the account after restoration of the path that was part of the property included in the non-com, and the costs associated with transferring that property over to us. We are officially owners of the tract, and we are now in possession of the cash. Yes.
No. What was that amount?
$57,372.66.
It was a happy wave.
Thank you.
And a
Mrs.
lot of good
Palmer,
work.
for all your
Thank you
hard
to you and Ken for your hard work on it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Paul, I'd like to see a letter of appreciation from the association to Ken and Priscilla for all the work they did on getting us that money.
Oh, that's.
I think that's well deserved.
We'll take that under advisement, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Archive update. The only real update is once we get a website that we can use to post the actual archives, we will be doing that. That would be all of our rules, regulations, anything that can be shared that is not of a fine nature or anything that cannot be shared with the general home ownership. We've been working on identifying where that site is going to be housed, but to ensure openness and transparency, more than one board member now has a complete set of the documents, and as soon as we get an official website, we will be updating with rules, current regulations, etc.
Who's the other board member?
I'm sorry?
Who's the other board member?
Me.
Damon was going to do it.
No, I don't.
Oh, now you are?
I don't recall Dana saying he was going to.
Oh, it was in a meeting.
Okay. Our committee update, please.
So we've had 5 submissions, mostly paint, and it kind of brings up the whole point number 2. Most of the submissions are really fine, they're perfect, they blend with the desert colors, they're browns, they're greens, they're whatever colors. We've had a couple of submissions that don't blend, and so I think it's time we actually come up with a standardization to say, here are the colors. So how we'll start that off is a couple of us on the ARC are going to go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Sherwin-Williams, and pick out color spectrums and say these are the colors that are the first colors. If folks want to help with that, more than we'll pay you
Oh, yes,
Okay.
I am color person.
Okay, so yeah, at some point we'll get together with the colors and kind of lay the colors out and say in and out, and come up with some type of standardization palette.
I don't have a problem with that as long as it's voluntary.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people enjoy picking out colors and other people just freak out. So,
I think we're having at least a base palette of things we think, yeah, these are all acceptable, to at least let somebody choose.
but they wouldn't have to pick from that.
No, they just still have to submit. If they pick from the ones that are approved already, it's pretty much a green light.
Okay.
I just want to mention that I do have representatives that I work with Sherman Williams and Dun Edwards, and I can have them meet with whatever volunteers,
That'd be
and
great.
they will create a palette for us,
Perfect.
and they can set that all up. We'll have a book, they will have to post it online, so any homeowners can view it online.
That'd be perfect.
Right now, the only guidelines are in custom homes, and that relates to natural. So, I mean, that's a wide array. Yes, Michelle?
So, some of the homes, I mean, a couple of homes that are not in that scheme, we're just gonna let that go.
I think if you stay with your existing colors, it's in, it'll have to be found in grandfather. If you want to change your colors, then you'll look within the palette. And if you submit something that is different from the palette, we'll add it to the palette.
The other thing we have to make sure we do going forward as in our committee is as things are approved, to make sure that what's approved is actually what's put up. And
We have that situation.
yeah, unfortunately, that's the situation when they submit one thing and they do another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Landscape committee, Patrick, anything?
No major updates. I think we just approved the already budgeted item to just continue with the trail maintenance. That's it.
On to new business. Dan?
Hello, everybody. How you doing today? Good. I will be resignating, I'll be giving my resignation here shortly. I'm going to read a letter to you. I'm going to kind of go back to my original reasoning for becoming a board member, kind of what has happened, transpired through me being a board member, and finally kind of what has really made me just want to resign. And I think that it's fair that I do this. I think that I think it has to be done. And this is not being malicious. I'm not trying to get back at anybody. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. But there's things that have been done that are going to be dealt with. And it probably won't be dealt with tonight, but it's going to be dealt with. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to serve this great neighborhood. But I feel like my time has expired. I can't say my experience has been what I thought it was going to be. My original intent to become a board member was to try and start some annual community activities. Instead of the same old thing, seeing everybody's garage doors opening, leaving for work, closing their garage doors, coming home from work, opening and closing your garage door here. I've always hated that in neighborhoods. I've lived in a lot of neighborhoods like that, where nobody really knew each other or got to know each other. So that was kind of my hopes of getting some activities going in our community. That was my main goal of getting on. I wanted neighbors to get to know each other. I wanted a community. Not by how much money you make or how much you don't make, not by how big or small your house is, but by actually wanting to get to know your neighbors. So what is the definition of a community? A feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. That's what Siri came up for me. So I currently have some of that with my immediate neighbors surrounding me. Really close to some of my neighbors. But I wanted to expand that to more of the community. I wanted our community to be like none other. Imagine us come together more as a family to help each other in times of need, offering our services to each other, almost like a co-op. But over time, it seemed like this was going to be an impossible task. The board reached out at an open meeting several months ago and asked if anyone was interested in helping out with community events. So please reach out to PRM, and ultimately nobody replied. So I had to reevaluate my personal goals compared to what appeared to be the community's goals of not lining up with mine. Maybe that's changed today. I don't know. The board has at least proposed, I believe, a budget item for community events which shows some promise. Going back, and I apologize, this is a little bit long. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I just, instead of me just sending the board an email that I quit, I'm done, I just felt that this was going to be better. So apologize if this is too long for you. Going back to when I was elected, there was complete animosity between several board members. There was unending bickering during open meetings, which a lot of you have seen. It happened in executive sessions and through emails. What was displayed in open meetings wasn't even a fraction of what went on behind the scenes. Being a brand new and unexperienced board member, it was completely frustrating and was very difficult to grasp my role as a director. Never been on a board before, wanted to try and help out, really didn't understand what the tasks were to it, basically. I thought it was going to be as simple as collecting the money, pay the bills, keep the common areas up nice, kill the weeds, and build on to what is already a great community. Obviously, it was way more detailed than I imagined, and there was way more going on between members than realized. Just the fact that some board members interpreted our CC&Rs and state statutes differently caused me much doubt and who to believe. I did try my best to understand state laws, which can go either way. By that, I mean it depended on if it benefited your argument or not. Things would definitely get twisted. There has, and I imagine there will be, legal issues with our community. I've seen more than I have ever intended on dealing with. This is definitely one of the negative sides of being on the board. You basically see all your neighbors' dirty laundry constantly. Something I won't miss. I know I have not been able to attend every board meeting. I've been labeled as an absentee director. I didn't think I was expected to take PTO or vacation in order to attend every board meeting. I couldn't help a few of the meetings because I was on duty. I was working, so I'm not going to take vacation time to attend a meeting when there was 4 other capable people of running the board meeting. I personally felt that I have contributed, more so through responding to emails, which have required almost a daily response on various topics. However, to some, I guess that's not enough. I thought things were going good, and they were. Business was getting done. Landscaping was getting done. Thought we had a good group here that really presented budgets well, presented all the things for landscaping, all that. Smart guys, top notch. I was feeling good about it. But what has ultimately made me resign, is what has happened recently. There was a police report made at the time. Supposedly it was done by one member. That's what I was told. A police report that consisted of different charges that was filed with the Peoria Police Department against prior, or actually at the time, an existing board member and a prior board member. I had no idea that that had taken place. I had a neighbor call me and ask me about it. I had no idea about it. They had a detective come to their house, and so they called me. They said, "Hey, what's going on with this? Do you know anything about this?" I go, "No. I'll ask around. I'll ask the board." So I sent the board an email, and what I was asked kind of blew me away. Excuse me. Not even going to mention any names. So I asked about this, and in response I was asked why I care. Damon, may I ask why you care? Well, it's because I'm a board member, first of all, is why I care.
Thank you.
I have an old board member coming to me about something that I should have known about, that I didn't know about, they already knew about. I was also asked, or told, let me clarify, Damon, with you not being a party to the investigation, not sure what relevance it would have to you. How would that make you feel as a board member? So I explained, first of all, that I was a board member. Second of all, my name is in legal documents that have to do with this investigation. Why would I care? So then the excuse came out that one board member filed the police report. They filed it under whistleblower protection laws. Whatever that means. But they're the only ones that knew about it. Nobody else spoke up. So, I go to the police department. I get hold of the detective. I go down to the police department, get a police report, which I got it right here. Got that. I got the supplement too. And now, when I read it, I knew why I was being brushed off. It's because it wasn't one, it was 3 board members that got together, filed a police report, and left the 2 other board members out. Now, I have a problem with that. That is breaking Arizona open meeting laws. And I'm a part of this board. So that includes me in on that. Even though I didn't do it, but now I'm included in it. So what do I have to do? Now that I know about this, I have to report it. I have to file I have to file a report with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. Because if I don't, and I roll over, and I brush it off, and then, I don't know, a lawsuit comes down the line that might have to do with this. And I knew about it, but I didn't say anything about it. So I'm forced to do this, which sucks because it's going to cost our association more lawyer fees. Because when I file this, the lawyer's going to have to respond to it. It's going to cost more money. It's going to cost me $500 to file that I'm not guaranteed to get back. I've spoken with legal, and they're about 110% sure that this violated Arizona open meeting laws. This is hard to share, okay? This is hard to do. And I'm not doing this out of malice. I am not doing this out of malice. Let me finish, okay? What was done was wrong. And now I'm put in a position financially, stress. I got to fill out a freaking 9-step form to give to a judge that may or may not do anything about it, may or may not get my money back. Why should I be put in that type of position? It sucks. So, you know, I really don't know much more to say to you folks. You know, I wish I could have done better. I really do. I probably could have done better in some way, some form. But did the best I could under a lot of really bad circumstances.
Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I did 11 years, and at the end of my 11 years, I got treated like shit, so I get it. Absolutely.
So,
Thank you for doing the right thing and being honest, ethical. It's too bad others couldn't be.
well,
So a lot for the people we have serving our community.
so I've asked you to
Yeah.
accept my resignation as of right now.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
That's
We will be having our annual meeting in April, May, or is it April or May? I think I said May. I'll be sending out the schedule with the meetings. Damon's seat was up at that election, so we will be taking nominations for that election. You can make nominations through PRM. You can contact any one of the board members. There's not going to be an election committee. Anyone who wants to run that is in the community is more than willing to run. So we'll take nominations between now and the next meeting. At our next meeting, we will be introducing those candidates to whomever shows up at the meeting. We will be distributing their bios with the ballot, with the hopefully the quarterly statements, if not shortly thereafter. And they will definitely be included in the annual meeting notice. And we'll be at the annual meeting collecting and accumulating those votes.
Excuse me. Yes. I don't find anything wrong with that, except that our bylaws require that we have a nominating.
They don't require it. It allows for them. And you only need a nominating committee if someone is going to say yes or no. And we're saying
No, that's not true. It's just it's one board member. But I can read it if you want me to read it.
Feel free. It's not required.
while she's looking it up, so the next meeting, we'll accept the nominations is March 11th for those appointed. And then the intent, obviously, could change, but right now, the annual meeting is planned for May 20th.
That allows for a 60-day notification.
What was the first meeting?
March 11th?
Where are they gonna be?
Here.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this is from the bylaws, 3.11, nomination and election. Nomination for election to the board shall be made by a nominating committee. That is a shall.
Okay. Continue.
Nominations may also be made from the floor at the annual meeting by any member not in default. The nominating committee shall consist of a chairman, who shall be a member of the board, and 2 or more members of the association. The nominating committee shall be appointed by the board of directors at least 60 days prior to each annual meeting and shall serve until such annual meeting has been concluded.
So what, I'm just curious, so it makes sense, it's in the bylaws, but given that anybody can nominate, and then you can also nominate.
At the annual meeting.
Yeah, at the annual meeting, and then anybody can write themselves in for a candidate, I'm just, what is the purpose of the nominee?
I'm not a lawyer,
I'm just,
I just read it, that's all.
So they what we're trying to do from
What?
a common sense standpoint is make sure everybody knows that we're not going to say no to anyone.
Everybody can run.
All I'm saying is it says nomination for election to the board shall be made by a nominating committee. That means people put in their bios, and the nominating committee keeps a file of them. What's happened before
We're going to
is
distribute it just like we've always done in the past. It won't be any different.
I'm sorry, I wasn't through. Okay. What we've done is the nominating committee, a board member and 2 others, have kept a list in conjunction with the management company of those that wanted to put, I mean, we're not keeping anybody from running. Anybody can run. But they put in a bio and it has to, they put in a little bio and it has to be less than 100 words, and the nominating committee just goes through those, makes sure everything is okay, and then with the management company puts out a list of the people who put in their bios and sends that out along with the ballots at the time that the ballots come out, 30 days before the next election. So you have a 60-day and a 30-day and then the election.
Got it.
I mean, that's simple.
Like I said, no different from last time.
the exact same one?
Okay.
So one of you has to be the nominating committee chairperson.
Which one of you wants to be the nominating committee chair? Okay, all right.
Crispy.
Otherwise, we have to redo the bylaws.
But it does say shall, not must be.
I'm sorry?
It says shall, not must. And last year was the first year we had a nominating committee for elections to the board in the 5 years that I've been part of the community. It is not a must, it is a shall. But thank you for volunteering to be the chairman. We'll set up the committee and we'll take that. Are there any nominations from the board to fill the open seat?
My only thought was we had a gentleman who ran last time, Jason Sinchek. Behind myself, which was represented, was like the third most votes. He's not here right now. I know he's playing in the meeting.
Okay.
We can't really talk and say anything to the group at the moment, but that would be somebody who I think makes a lot of sense.
Are there any other candidates? What we can do is we can move, we don't have solicit nominations for the open seat. We were talking about the expired. We can move that down to after our open meeting, and before we adjourn, we can address that if there's any others as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
As we mentioned, the annual meeting will be May 20th. We will be accepting nominations and sending out the bios. Everyone knows who is looking to fill the seat. and hopefully we'll get good candidates and we'll announce the process. We're not going to go through the process of, you have to sign an envelope, and if you sign the ballot, it's void and null. If it's sealed or hermetically sealed under a jar of mayonnaise, it may or may not be counted. It's going to be a signed ballot. Each homeowner will sign the ballot. If it is signed and dated, it's a good ballot. If another ballot shows up that is signed and dated after one, the latest signed ballot will be the ballot that's counted. So if, let's say, for example, you mail one in, you change your mind, you come to the meeting with a ballot, it's signed and dated the night of the meeting, the one that you mailed in will be void, and the one that you bring with you would be the one that would be counted. Doesn't need to be sealed, it doesn't need to be locked, you bring it in, it'll be checked in, just like any other ballot. Monthly financials. We have copies of the December balance sheets and the December P&Ls that have been distributed. We do not have the January financials as yet, excuse me. You have November and December of 19 in front of you. Did anyone have any questions? Anyone on board? Anyone on the homeowners? Any questions?
Yeah, Paul, what was the ADR complaint? $8,949.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your
The
question?
ADR complaint for legal?
Yeah.
What was that?
That was to defend, the board's cost to defend themselves against an ADRA claim that was filed.
What was the complaint?
The complaint was a parking complaint.
Okay, so was it made by
The claim was filed by a homeowner,
okay, you allowed to say that
and
homeowner
the
is, no?
association had to defend themselves because they were questioning the validity of the board's interpretation of the rule.
Okay, so you're not allowed to say who the homeowner is, or
I cannot.
you cannot, okay.
I think just the person that was being
Yeah.
We met with that person.
asked or whatever, that's the only person I think can know who filed it.
Oh, the actual person who filed it is, Mr. Simchak. That can absolutely be discussed. The
Okay.
ADRA claim is a public document, but the original claim for parking was a violation of a homeowner, which,
I know what that violation was.
When we met with the homeowner, we talked to him,
and it was rectified.
he has rectified, he didn't understand, he was being told one thing, we explained what the rules are, he understood that, he fixed the issue.
So we fixed the issue, but it cost thousands of dollars?
That was with the previous board, that rather than addressing the parking issue and enforcing the rules, decided to challenge the validity of the Arizona statute.
That was that cloud of attorney, wasn't it?
I'm sorry?
Most of that money was going to that cloud of attorney.
It went to the previous attorney, yeah. Any other questions?
So what was the parking violation
I'm sorry?
that the previous board ignored? Because I know there's a lot of parking violations in this neighborhood that the board ignores.
The,
Sure are.
the actual complaint was filed by a homeowner against a homeowner, and that is all part of executive items. It can't be discussed in open forum.
Okay. But the size of vehicle that was parked there, I know of several vehicles of that size or bigger that are parked in people's driveways.
If there is a formal complaint filed with PRM, we follow up. We don't walk around with clipboards and look for violations unless they're noted by a neighbor or somebody who is impacted by it.
So we no longer have someone driving around looking for violations?
We do.
But it's more weeds, that kind of violation.
It's more what?
Weeds, landscaping, paint issues.
They're not looking for things that are against the CCNRs, homeowners parking illegally or having vehicles that shouldn't be
If
parked?
there is an illegal or an illegally parked vehicle, or if there is a complaint filed. The specific comment was made that there are a lot of vehicles that I'm presuming he has observed, and if that's the case, file a complaint if you don't feel it's on
It's
the
not our
list.
homeowner's responsibility to file complaints, it's the management company, the board, to enforce someone to go around and find those violations.
And as they are filed, we address them. So if they haven't been.
So why are homeowners being asked to call in?
If you see something.
If you see something, you can call it in. If not, don't bother. No, you're not being forced to, you're being asked. If something is a violation that you think is a violation, call it in. If not, hopefully if the violation is occurring at the time the person is driving around through the community, then it would be caught by them as well. But I don't know if they're looking at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night looking for parking violations. So that would require the homeowner who thinks that there is a violation to file their complaint.
Well, I don't know what you're referring to. I know during daylight hours, many parking violations.
Are there any other comments regarding the financial statements?
I guess they don't care.
No, we have
You
addressed that.
care, but we've addressed the issue.
Okay.
Why isn't the person driving around taking care of it?
If they see it, they do.
No, don't
Don't
shush
shush him.
Would you let the
No,
board
I'm
members
saying-
answer my question?
If that person drives around one time during the week or a month or whatever, they're not gonna catch all the parking violations
It's a
that you may see.
stationary trailer.
Well, then make a report.
It's not my responsibility.
Reports the property one time
I pay
a month, so
assessments.
Excuse us,
Will
will you
see
please?
more than our inspector will catch. Our inspections are done during business hours and it's only one time per month.
Business, okay?
Yeah, so
During the day.
homeowners are gonna see a lot more than our inspector will see coming to this large property one time a month. So if there are any issues that you see that are bothering you, we ask that you call it in to PRM report and send an email
They're not
because
bothering me, they're just against the CCNRs, but.
Can I get a motion to accept the financial statement?
Because people need to follow the rules.
Excuse us.
Again, you cannot pause.
Hold on. Can I get a motion to accept the financial statement? Motion. Second? Chris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
To you guys in the back, you cannot control yourselves during a meeting, you'll never come back to another session. There's rules around that.
Well, if you follow language at the previous board member that doesn't need that said to him, that's a problem.
Enough.
Activities committee is the next item.
Do I cover that one?
So we've had, and I know Damon actually covered it before he stepped down, conversations back even when I was sitting out there in those seats about some interest in having some kind of activities committee. We've budgeted for it in the 2020 financials, so we really are trying to see, is there an interest in doing it? So I was willing to serve as a board member on that committee. If there's others that would like to be involved in being on the committee, I think the first step is finding out if the homeowner would want it. So my recommendation is we formulate a committee. I don't know whether we want to do a mailer or something, but like find out what the interest is. We've got the money to do it. We can try it for 6 months, do a meeting an event every quarter or something like that, and see if we have enough participation. If there's not,
Yeah, and so part of the challenge with this is, you only have the amount of members that come into the meetings, and then you have folks that respond to anything that comes in the mail, you have the mail, everything, so, creating a website with notifications to homeowners, upcoming events, locations of community documents is something that's imperative. We actually have a community member that's been doing some research on this, so Kim, I don't know if I'm a good spot, but do you want to talk a little bit about some of the website aspects you've been exploring?
Sure. There's, so I have been looking at, there are hundreds of software companies that offer community websites. Everything from companies who are more aligned with property management companies to more community type of software is available. Looking at a lot of them, they pretty much all have the ability to post CCNRs, meeting minutes, financials, making all of our information for our community available to all members. A small select group of software developer companies actually have the ability to do voting online. That's something that we heard pretty strongly from some of the members of the community. It's difficult to get to these meetings, and would like the ability to vote online. There's a couple of companies that have that capability. It does require some webmaster capabilities where you're validating that members that are signing up do own a home in the neighborhood. So it's really only as good as a webmaster capability, so I recommend having a formal webmaster position with it. Also, we want some kind of legal review to make sure that some of the voting capabilities that are offered through some of these websites would pass the Arizona regulations around online voting. There's other capabilities. There's some sites that have everything from pet registry, where you can take a picture of your pet, and if you're missing your pet, one of your community members might find them and be able to locate you rather than posting it on other social websites. So there's a lot of capability out there. There's a lot of content available. And so I will be talking to some of the board members about some of the costs. They range from $15 a month up to $49 a month. It's really going to depend on how much content we have to share on the website. And that's the update I have.
Yeah.
Any questions?
The issue that you run across is, well, we have 350 plus homes in the community. When I put up the agendas and the meeting notices, at least on Facebook, I can see how many people have accessed it. And we have maybe 40 people, 30 to 40 people that open it up on Facebook. I don't have a count on Nextdoor, so I don't know how many people open it up on Nextdoor. But I also know that in addition to the limited scope of those two sites, almost every homeowner receives a blast from PRM with any of these notices, whether it be a notice of the meeting, whether it be any other type of notice. But there are about 12 homeowners, roughly, I'm kind of asking, that don't have any email address we have to mail manually. Roughly, ballpark. It's roughly 12 to 20.
The majority of people have provided.
Yeah, it's 12 to 20 that have not. We've reached out to them and we still can't get them to give us email addresses. So the issue comes down to, no matter how technically savvy, without running into mailing 350 letters, which is about a roughly $200 to $300 undertaking, it's very difficult to ensure that every homeowner is receiving any type of announcement. And that's why it's so difficult to change the CCNRs or to do anything else where you need either a simple majority or the CCNRs where you need 75%. So without some sort of a mechanism where we hopefully can get more community involvement and verify all of the email addresses and get this up to date, it is a huge undertaking, but once it's up and running, it could provide a lot of benefits for changing the rules, getting color schemes, doing whatever we need to do as a board, and ensuring that it's not just the same 40 or 50 homeowners, but it is a representative portion of the 350 plus homes in the community.
I mean, for a community of our size, I can't believe we don't have online presence. I mean, there's too many times where homeowners need copies of the documents. Not everybody keeps a copy of their CCNRs handy. Not everybody keeps a copy of architectural guidelines handy. And when I read the list of the monthly readout from PRM, just with the amount of people that are just calling for stuff that can be done through self-service, it doesn't make sense. So, my recommendation would be, if you're open to this, Chris, is as a part of the activities committee, maybe if we can wrap this in, because you're going to need a platform to be able to reach out to people. So maybe we can connect.
If you're having a picnic, if you're having an event,
Yeah.
you want to make sure everyone is seeing it.
Calendaring services, or you can look at, it goes on and on. It's
So Kim, thanks for your help
thank you, Kim.
digging into that and doing what we've done so far.
I'm going to step back a second and go back to Patrick's open idea when I mentioned we have an open board seat that literally only has 1 or 2 meetings before it's going to be replaced. or unless that role is, that person runs and should happen to win the election. Damon just resigned from the board, and his seat is up at the next annual meeting, which is on May 20th. So I've had a recommendation, not an official nomination, for Jason Simchuk to be added to the board in that interim period. Jason, would you like to speak at all? Or first of all, would you be interested?
I'd be happy to help out, I know you obviously outside here as well. I think you've done a great job with the board. Looking to just keep things, moving along. I think, this board's done a great job keeping things back in line and want to keep things moving forward to the best that we can. So happy to help if you guys will, man.
Would you like to make it an official motion?
Yeah, I'll nominate you, Jason, if you're interested.
Is there a second?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
shouldn't you ask for any other people that may be interested in filling that for 2 months?
I have a motion on the floor which we need to address first. If the motion is not accepted, then we will open it up. But I do have the motion before we second it. Are there any comments on the nomination?
Other than the fact that the nomination is the only nomination?
No.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Mr. Simchek. I'm just saying, maybe somebody else here would like to put their name in the hat.
And there very well can be. Is anyone else interested? Is there a motion by the board to accept Kim Clover's nomination?
No.
Anybody else? Okay, may we address then? Jason, would you like to readdress your motion?
I'd recommend Jason.
And second by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstention? You abstain? Okay, Chris is abstaining. Crispy. Yeah, crispy. Jason, welcome. You will have a interim position. The last issue on, before we open it up for homeowner, as time permits, the last item here is a neighborhood grants program. As you may or may not be aware, on an annual basis, the City of Peoria opens up a grant program for new projects in the community, and it's up to $10,000, I believe, is the grant, for things such as, I believe, the Tot Park was one of the items that was done several years ago, but there's been no grant applications by our board since. This does not cover painting, it does not cover existing projects, it does not cover normal maintenance, i.e. rock or gravel replacement in phases. It only covers new projects and a portion thereof. Now, when I went through the budget that we approved, I did not see any projects that were new that would qualify for the grants project. But if anyone disagrees with me, or if there's anything, the issue is it's only up to $10,000. So if we do decide that we wanted to apply for something that was more than that, we would have to somehow appropriate those additional dollars in our budget, which is already approved, and it is not included in that budget. So if there are any suggestions, hold on one second. If there are any suggestions for projects that would fall either under that 10,000 or within a fair and reasonable amount of overture, we can address that and file with the city. Yes?
What would be the criteria for a project? In other words, would it have to be for the children or for?
It's any new project. If you wanted to build a basketball court, it doesn't have to be for children. It can be a general basketball court. If you wanted to build something that is not existing right now, it does not cover things like pools. It does not cover things like, pergolas and covered, it does. So there are those items that are covered, but it can't be for, like I say, normal maintenance or normal ongoing projects.
What if it was to beautify our entrances like we were going to do?
I can follow up with that and find out, because the only reason I would say no is because it's in
Consider landscape.
yeah, that's the only issue. Would they consider it a landscape, which they don't cover?
Oh,
But I will definitely look into that, because you're absolutely right. The only issue is, if I remember correctly, I thought that all of the bids for the entering monuments and so on were well into the $40,000 and $50,000 range. And this is a $10,000 grant. So we'd have to come up with the other $30,000, $40,000 or $50,000.
well, the only reason I'm saying is because the reason we didn't go ahead with the project originally was that it involved the moving of the trash cans and the bench over there. Over here. And we couldn't do that until we regained, well, not regained, but we gained the property of Tract M, because we were going to move the bench and the trash can to the other side of the walkway, which at that time wasn't our property. So now that it's our property, we could move the trash can and the bench, which were unsightly, to the other side of the walkway, so that it would be on the walkway rather than right out in the middle. When everybody drives in, they see a trash can and a bench. So,
Again, I go back to the monument, though, the cost of the monument, not just the relocation of the bench and the garbage can.
well, it wasn't actually a monument as such, because the monument is already there, but it would have involved boulders and landscape materials, so maybe it wouldn't.
Right. Well, I'll look into it, but I thought that the cost that they were projecting for that was well over $10,000. And since our budget is established this year and that item is not in it, any excess over the 10,000, yeah. But it is definitely something where if we look at it for next year, we can build the balance into the budget and then try to go after the grant. Yeah. I'm sorry, Michelle, yes.
And a possibility is maybe to improve on those little top lots, because I know it does need more sand, it needs to be clean.
Unfortunately, improvements like that are not covered.
Oh.
That's the issue. Now, I know that we had discussed at one point, and I don't know what the cost was, potentially putting a shaded covering over.
There is
Yeah, but to increase that or make that a bigger,
like a picnic area or
Yeah.
something? Oh, okay.
so that might be one thing we could look at.
Because I know a lot of children use that.
Yeah.
Put it right next to it.
Hey, Paul, how about lighting the walk path?
I'm sorry?
Lighting the walk path at night, or is that considered a landscape?
The way I read it, it's if it's an improvement to an existing structure or walkway, because they specifically do talk about pads,
Right.
but they didn't talk about modifying the pads with lights.
Yeah.
So, now the other issue that you're gonna run with that, first of all, you know how many miles of path.
Yeah.
But who's gonna pay that ongoing electricity too? So, I mean, it's definitely something we can look at. Lights.
Or light a couple pads.
There's like a couple, see if anybody likes them and go from there. I mean, electricity can be left for a little, so.
Okay. All right, we have until May, so I'll get some ideas, and perhaps at the next meeting, we can raise this again.
Can we send some ideas to PRM?
BRM or any of the board members could review it. Yep. Okay, open homeowner session. Yes.
Have we made any progress on painting our, the benches and the trash cans? Have we made any, because I noticed in some other communities, they have the gray, and it doesn't look bad. And I know we were concerned about the material of the benches and the trash cans, because they're really ugly.
Yeah, Jose wanted to be here, Jose from Primo Paint, who did the phase 1 and phase 2 for us, but he couldn't make it tonight. So where we left it on the trash cans and the seats was that we would look to include that when it's time to paint the railing, because of the bid that we had for the stem walls. It was one of the, I think the part of the challenge was we could paint it as it is, but it has like a rubberized coating on it. I don't know if you
Right,
noticed
so
that.
can't they paint it opaque and put the.
Yeah, so
home
part of that, part of those need to get repaired as well, and so we just said, why don't we just wait until we get ready to do, I think that's how we left it, we get ready to do the railings, and then get the stem walls done, because we had the two mismatched walls in the community, so we just had him make sure that we took care of that piece first, and then, we didn't make up final on the chairs and the trash cans yet. But I agree, I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to be red anymore either.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I have noticed when I'm walking that a lot of people sit there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of, even, the resort, they walk, and people in here walk, and they rest, and it would be nice to make it look nicer.
Yeah, the other thing I remember now, so one of the other things that we had discussed that we didn't come to a final agreement on is they painted the railings as well, that red again, so the
Yeah.
ones that separate where the wash is, and so now you have a darker color scheme in the community, really red railings, and then the red that's on all of the seats. So if we were gonna paint the seats and we were gonna paint the trash cans, we should paint the railing, make it all match. So,
Right.
yeah, so we just have to get the bid on all of that, including now repainting the newly painted red rails. So,
So do you think that'll happen in the next 6 months, or?
yeah, it will.
Because they
So
also,
I could just actually touch on that now. So the remaining major part of the paint at this point is the railings for the B lots. And where we landed with that is we want to make sure, we've got to come up with a process to give homeowners adequate notice so that if they have anything, because part of it is going to be, it's going to require access to backyards, people have dogs, people want to be home when we do this. And so part of what we have to do is figure out, A, what's the best time to do it, B, what's the amount of time we want to give people. I think we've talked about several options. I'm in favor of, at least 60 days so people can do what they need to do. And then from there, they'll go likely street by street to do that. There's also other issues having to do with the railings, such as repairs, because some of them actually are coming off the stem wall, so it's a little bit more involved. Our desire would be to get that satisfied and make sure any remaining paint that's left, so railings, chairs, trash cans, all done in the one place.
but as you walk along the path, the homes here have that little bit of wall. And that's not, is that planned to be
Yes.
painted in the near
Absolutely,
future?
yeah. Which street?
Well, you go down, like from Black Hill towards Cibola Vista, it's a walking trail, and there's homes, and there's a little wall, and, the landscape did pull a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff away from the walls, but the walls were in bad
So
shape.
this trail right here?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what was that.
And it looks really bad.
Is there a schedule to get all that done?
Yeah, that should have been, we had them go through the whole community, so you may not, let me talk about that, see what happened there.
And another thing too, in this area as well, the rock is in very poor condition. And I know that we did a lot of rock this way, but we didn't do any rock this way. And like if you go down 92nd Lane, kind of zigzag in there, the rock is really, there's not.
Trail rock, like the trail or
No,
the
the
landscape
rock.
rock?
Landscape rock.
We had that in 3 phases.
Yeah, I
We
was
did the
wondering
first
when.
phase, and then there was issues on the second phase regarding verifying the tonnage of the truck when it came in, so we never did the second phase.
Are we planning on doing the rest of the area?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been a part of the ongoing trail, did we include that for that?
It's also, we also had that in the landscaping budget.
Okay, perfect.
Because this area in here really looks bad. And the
It'll get
gophers are
addressed.
eating all the plants and the rock is gone and it really looks terrible.
Yes.
Way back when, we had an issue with West Wing with their gate that they put up in the lot. It wouldn't allow us access into their neighborhood, but they can just have free in our neighborhood. Where are we with that? Have we even discussed that anymore? I was thinking about that. I'm a drum sport, so I'll put a wall up. So, I think it's cool that, they put a fence.
Is it on our? Oh, for sure. Is it on our property?
Yeah.
It is now, it's
Well, the
dropped
fence,
down.
I think, is in between where the walk path is. I've actually seen the area, heard about this gate.
I haven't seen it.
And.
No, but you're talking about the Nami homes, the new ones right there?
Yeah,
Is
right
that
down
what
there.
that is?
Yes, follow the path and the gate.
I haven't seen it, I just heard about it, we had talked about it a while ago, and.
So you think we should go over and base a little wall?
I'll put some wall, not a problem, we'll do something. Yeah, I'll put some electric fence on it.
I don't know how they
But
would
it's
tell
on-
the easement for that.
If it's on our property, can we just
Correct.
remove the fence?
Yeah.
Well, is it it's technically their.
It's their wall.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it's their wall, but they would have needed an easement to be able to create basically the door that gets them access to our property. That'd be like if I put like a door to my neighbor's, like, property.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the gate that they put in
Is one way.
was after the city of Peoria showed that as part of the regional path system. Well, of course, it's not anymore. But-
So that's like how they got it. They probably went off and looked back and said, oh, it's just the.
But now that we control track down, then they come directly.
Let's just talk about it real quick. So, with the
That is some.
So here's the challenge, right? So you could go to that community and say, this is now private property, you've got to close that door. Or, so that'll, I'm sure, or leave it and then it becomes a two-way door.
I think you could even
But that's also a-
revisit it with Peoria.
Right.
And maybe when they signed off on that, that was not part of the scope, and they didn't realize in a different faction that it was gonna get closed off like that. Seriously, they might not even know. That's
Because
what happened.
where I was going with this is also, I think that there was an expectation that there's supposed to be the whole interconnected trail system that comes all around here. But if you look at an aerial for where that goes into their community, it's just it's a gated community, right? There's no, I don't think you actually have to go onto private property to then connect to a trail system on the west side. So, but it's a fair point. We can, I'll take the action. I'll call over there. See. Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Are the landscapers, I think I sent an email about the weed issue before it gets worse than it already is, to spray the weeds.
They sprayed them. They turned them green. I don't think they hit them all.
No, they did not hit them all.
Yeah.
Because at the end of each, the cul-de-sacs, that area back in there, it's really bad. At the end of like cul-de-sacs.
Okay.
And a lot of the areas that have been.
I would say if you guys see issues where you don't think it's been sprayed or you see that you definitely know it hasn't been sprayed, take a picture of it. And then if you can, tell us the exact address that you're scanning at when you take a picture and send it to PRM so they can give it to the landscaping company.
Unfortunately, right now is the moist season and everything's gonna bloom, but yes, they did spray a lot of areas and they may have missed some.
And I saw them spraying in the main swath when they were in, and they missed around the corner. They just, at least if they sprayed it, it wasn't green.
Right, yeah, well, there's a lot of areas where the weeds are really bad and it's not been sprayed.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else? Yes.
Why would the three of you participate in illegal activities as board members to cost the rest of us money, such as you did? It's not funny.
First of all.
We pay assessments and you're gonna sit up there and laugh? You think that's funny?
No, it's not funny. It's
Well-
not funny at all, because the whole reason that anything was done was to try to recover funds that were taken from this community, taken from all of your funds.
No, you wouldn't be like board members' backs.
False reporting is.
Excuse me, you are not a homeowner, you cannot
This
speak
is
to
an
this.
open meeting.
Yeah.
It is not an open meeting, it is a homeowners meeting.
It's called an open meeting. What would you like to
It
say?
is not an open meeting, and if you would like me to address your question, it was not three of us taking action on anything. It was a unilateral action by me.
Actually, the police report says differently. If anyone would
No.
like to read the police report.
I have.
So, let me
It
explain,
does say differently.
Well, no, let me explain.
because there's facts you don't hear.
Yes, there are a lot of facts.
Well, you only have the findings of the police report as well.
I've said that you cannot speak. If you'd like to speak, we can have you removed. You are not a homeowner, you cannot speak.
Anybody can sit in an open meeting.
No, they cannot.
This is at a trailhead
I-
on the building.
So listen,
As a representative of this board and under the Whistleblower Protection Act, because documents have had a way of disappearing from this association. Yeah, now you're laughing, and you're the one who made some of them disappear.
Oh, no, not
Yes.
me.
Oh, yes,
You
you
better
are.
back that one up.
Okay, when I asked you for the minutes and the support of the meeting, of the executive meeting on Martin Luther King Day last year, you told me that those records were disposed of, because I made the comment they were destroyed, and you said no. I didn't say destroyed, I said disposed of.
Those were mine, you have,
No,
the
they are
management
not, they are
company has
official
records.
documents with you
And the
being
management
secretary.
company has records.
There was one copy, you were given that
Michelle,
copy.
did you turn in all your minutes and board book when you were no longer a board member?
You were still a board member, you had just left the board when you were asked. But
That's right, you
to
never had a
answer your
board book.
question, I am the one who prepared the information. I was going up to Flagstaff and I asked Chris to drop that off. I do not even have a copy of a police report. I have not received a copy of it.
Oh, no, I spoke to the detectives, and that's incorrect.
Well, you can.
No, so I'll correct you on that. What Paul said is absolutely the
Yeah,
truth.
right here.
That's great, I'm glad you can read, but I have a police officer, I can have, state exactly what happened, because I gave what Paul gave to me after talking to the police officer. He asked, who are the board members that know about this issue of people stealing money from our HOA? And essentially, I shared.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Mhm.
So.
All right, well, you guys can go ahead and deflect, but it's gonna be interesting to see the financials of what this is gonna cost us as
Well,
homeowners.
actually, this will not cost anybody anything because I filed it and.
Well, when the ADRE hears about it, as it was already stated they will,
That's even more perfect.
That's
So,
Thank you. All three of you made my night.
I'm happy with it.
ruin
Okay,
this community.
any other
That's what they've
items for
done.
homeowner session?
We're gonna ruin the community.
Okay, at exactly 7:39, we'll adjourn the general meeting. And